Chào mừng quý vị và các bạn đến với chương trình Tôi và Việt Nam trên kênh truyền hình FBNC. Thưa quý vị, vào ngày 3 tháng 7 vừa qua thì tạp chí Forbes Việt Nam, phiên bản của tạp chí Forbes, một tạp chí danh tiếng về doanh nhân và các bảng xếp hạng tỷ phú, đã kỷ niệm 1 năm thành lập tại Việt Nam. Và nhân dịp này thì ông Karlgaard, một cây bút nổi tiếng trong chuyên mục sáng tạo và đổi mới trên tạp chí Forbes, ông đồng thời cũng là chủ nhiệm của tạp chí Forbes toàn cầu, đã đến Việt Nam. Ông là tác giả của cuốn sách vừa ra mắt đầu năm 2014 có tên gọi là The Soft Edge, tạm dịch là những giá trị mềm, nơi các doanh nghiệp tìm thấy thành công dài hạn. Và nhân dịp này thì chúng tôi đã cuộc trò chuyện với ông Karlgaard xung quanh chủ đề những giá trị mềm của doanh nghiệp. Mời quý vị cùng theo dõi sau đây.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Con.
Thank you. So, I have read your recent book, The Soft Edge, which is quite interesting. So, could you quickly summarize to the audience what is soft edge and why is it important for companies nowadays?
Well, sure. When I set out to write this book, The Soft Edge, I was trying to figure out what kinds of companies had enduring success and were really good at innovation in the long run. Now, I'm from Silicon Valley, where there are a lot of companies that are very good in bursts of innovation, and relatively few of them are strong in the long run. Apple's an example of a company that's been strong in the long run, even though Apple had its difficulties in the 1990s. And so what came to mind was a triangle of forces that all good companies succeed at. One is that they're really good at strategy. Two is that they're really good at execution, or what I call the hard edge. But three, they're really good at instilling deep cultural values inside of their company, which I call the soft edge. And companies that are only good at strategy and only good at execution, they can make progress, but they don't endure over the long run.
Giá trị mềm, nơi các công ty lớn tìm thấy thành công dài hạn, là tựa đề quyển sách mới nhất của Karlgaard, chủ nhiệm tạp chí. Yếu tố cuối cùng cũng không kém phần quan trọng, chính là story, câu chuyện của doanh nghiệp. Mỗi doanh nghiệp cần phải kể được một câu chuyện hay để có thể tồn tại trong một thế giới đầy cạnh tranh.
So, for companies who still have a lot of work to do in terms of improving the hard edge side, but they still want to invest more on the soft edge, can they do both, or what should be the priority?
Well, strategy is fundamentally important. Every business needs to know what it's about, what it's doing, what its purpose is, what market it's in, who its customers are, who its competitors are, what the disruptive threats are. You have to know that. You have to play the game of chess and three-dimensional chess to know where you want to go and to anticipate all the moves of your rivals in the marketplace. That's all in the category of strategy. On the side of execution, it basically boils down to you can't waste time and you can't waste money. Now, I believe that execution is going to become easier over time for companies because there's so much knowledge out there with online education and so forth. Yeah. And technology is getting more and more affordable, so the tools of execution are available to all. Therefore, it's the side of cultural values that really becomes the side of sustainable, enduring advantage over time. If execution is something that more and more companies will be able to do really well, then the value starts moving toward cultural values.
You have a lot of great examples in the book. Try to mention and illustrate what the points are about soft edge. This book is American focused. So what are some of the universal principles that can apply to readers in other parts of the world?
Well, I think that one of the universal principles is trust. That great organizations instill trust. They instill trust with their employees, they instill trust with their customers, they instill trust with their outside shareholders if they have them, with their supply chain. And to the degree you have trust, you can remove bureaucracy and you can move fast. If there's implicit trust, then everybody isn't looking over their shoulder, everybody isn't trying to get multiple sign-offs on every project. Everybody, you're reducing the time you spend with lawyers. So the absence of trust is what I call a transaction tax. Trust is hugely valuable. I used an example of an insurance salesman in the United States who became 5 times more productive by his own estimation when he began to trust the deeper purpose of his career. Now you think about that's kind of an outlier. Most people aren't going to become 5 times more productive than they were, but it hints at the kind of transformational gains that are available to companies when their employees really, really trust. Now imagine that you're a startup CEO. You're asking your employees to work tremendous amounts of hours, probably giving up their social life, giving up a good night's sleep many times to try to get a project done. You can only crack the whip so many times. You can only motivate people with this prospect of a greater payday so many times. There has to be some deeper purpose that gets people to commit, and it starts with trusting that deeper purpose.
But as a company CEOs or founders, specifically, how do you create an environment that fosters trust?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the behavior of the CEO, that employees and customers will not tolerate a hypocritical CEO today. They may have in the past, but we're entering an age of almost complete transparency, with cameras everywhere, with bloggers everywhere. If a CEO is preaching frugality in his company, but that CEO is staying at the nicest hotels and always flying first class, then you can't hide anymore. And so that probably is the number one thing that will executive and particularly CEO hypocrisy. Another one that will shatter trust is inconsistent behavior. Now, some of the companies I wrote about had very nourishing corporate cultures. They had childcare facilities. They do a lot to counsel employees. And some companies, for example, Amazon's a very hard culture. It's like the Marines. You sign up for a very difficult stint. People don't work at Amazon their whole career. But you know what? They're not lying when they recruit you. Jeff Bezos of Amazon is not saying, come here and you'll work for a very nourishing culture and we'll be very supportive of you and we'll meet your needs. He's saying, come here, work your tail off. It's going to be brutal, but you're going to learn something. And it's consistent. It's this inconsistency is another thing that shatters trust. You think about this in a personal realm. Kids who grew up in a household where their parents are very inconsistent. They're loving one day, they're violent the next, grow up and have real problems. And the same thing with corporate cultures where the CEO and the executive staff is inconsistent.
You did many interviews with a lot of American companies to write this book. What were some of your favorite cases about a big brand, a big company that fails because they don't invest enough on the soft edge?
Well, I didn't write about it, but you look in the United States right now, the problems with General Motors. General Motors had a problem with ignition switches. In some of its cars, your knee would bump the ignition switch, and when your knee bumped the ignition switch, it would turn off the safety mechanisms, including the airbag, and there were deaths that resulted from that. Well, what happened is that General Motors lied about it. They knew of the problem, and they buried the news. And now it's all coming out, and millions of cars have been recalled. And this is the kind of thing that shatters trust simply because the organization didn't have the transparency and the honesty to deal with the problem honestly. So, I purposely use the word soft edge because it kind of implies that you're not serious or disciplined, but actually the soft edge, getting things right on the soft edge is very, very hard. It sometimes calls for brutally honest discussions. It is, in the case of General Motors, nobody stepped up and said, we've got a problem here that is going to cause us, that is going to destroy people's lives and wreck the brand sometime down the road. On the other hand, Ford Motor, a rival of General Motors, when the new CEO, Alan Mulally, came in, and the first time he had a meeting with all of his direct reports, he said, does anybody have a problem in their particular region? Nobody raised their hand. And he said, that is simply not possible. Somebody's got a problem somewhere. Finally, somebody spoke up and said, we have a problem in this region, and the CEO started clapping. And he said, I want all of you to be honest like that.
Những chia sẻ vừa rồi cũng đã khép lại phần 1 của chương trình Tôi và Việt Nam. Chúng tôi sẽ còn quay trở lại sau ít phút nữa. Quý vị có thể xem lại chương trình này trên trang web fbnc.vn.